October 20th, 2009, and we are here at Balfour in Louisville with Clemma Hoyt Wiggett. And my name is Jean Morgan, and here today helping with this interview is Katie Kingston and Dustin Sagrillo. So that's our team. And Clemma, we always start these interviews by asking people their birthday and where they were born.
Well, my birthday is July the 19th, 1921, and I was born in Boulder.
But your family lived in Louisville. You were just born in the hospital in Boulder.
That's right.
A lot of people were born at home, but you got to go to the hospital. Now, your family and your folks were from back east, weren't they?
That's right.
And was it Pennsylvania?
Well, they were from Pennsylvania and New York State.
I see. And was it your grandparents who came out here to Boulder, or what generation came to Boulder?
Well, my grandparents, my grandfather, Franz, who was my mother's father, came from Pennsylvania. He was a dentist.
And he practiced dentistry in Boulder then too?
No, up in Nederland, Colorado.
Oh, that's right, in Nederland. Any other information you want to give us about your grandparents?
My other set of grandparents, I never knew. They were from New York State.
Now, your dad then was he born in Nederland then?
Oh no, my dad was born in Waverly, New York.
Oh. And his name was?
Howard Harry Hoyt.
Howard Harry Hoyt. And we'll talk about him more in his business in Louisville. But in the meantime, I think you told me your mother's name was Emma.
Emma Blanche.
And that was my mother's name too, so it's easy for me to remember.
My mother never went by Emma.
Oh, she didn't?
Never used it at all. And on official things, she would put E and then Blanche.
I see. And how did you get your name? It's a very unusual name.
Well, I was named for my dad's sister, whose name was Clemma, and she was named for a relative back in New York State.
Well, it's a very unusual name. I've never heard it before. But it's interesting that it's a combination of your mother's name too, isn't it? Emma's in Clemma, so.
No, it's not a combination.
Yes, right. But it's an interesting name. So your dad, he was actually a banker in Nederland. Is that where he started banking, or was he a banker back east
No,
too?
he and my mother met in Nederland. I don't know what he worked at in Trinidad, Colorado. My mother was in the bank in Nederland, Colorado, and they needed a banker, and she said that she knew that this Lashley Persons, who was in Boulder, that he knew somebody from New York State that was looking for a job, and he said that he would send him up to Nederland, and he could meet my mother, and they could figure out what to do from there.
And they did.
Then they did.
Wow. So that's how he began working at the bank?
Yes, she worked there before he did, but she never worked in the bank in Louisville. She said the big reason was that she didn't want to know the background of people, and that if Dad talked about somebody that was having a rough time, she didn't want to know that.
I see.
That's very thoughtful, isn't it?
So what did your mother do at the bank? Was she a teller or
Oh,
Do you-
in little banks,
everything?
you learn the whole thing.
Do you think she was one of the first women to work in a bank?
I don't know that. And I have no way of telling you the answer to that. She had never worked in a bank in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So what year did they move to Netherlands?
Well, they were married in 1919, and she was already there before my father came.
and then they moved down into
Louisville.
after how many years of marriage?
Oh, they were married. They were married in 1921. No,
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 1919.
1919.
Well, then you were born in 21, so they must have been down here or up there for about 2 or 3 years.
Yes, that's true.
Uh-huh. And then your father was a cashier then in Louisville.
That's
Is that
right.
right? And it was, was there only one bank in town at that time?
Oh yes, and if you worked there any length of time, you learned all the different things about banking, which is if you want to be a banker, that's a good way to start.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
To
Doing
learn
everything.
when you know all of the details of it.
And that's what you, in fact,
Yes.
did when you were a teenager. So this state bank, it was on Main Street,
Yes.
and it was down from the Hub store, and I'm not sure.
He was right
What was
next
there?
door to the Hub store. Now the Hub store was across the street from Carveth Brothers in Dalby,
Okay.
Carveth Brothers and Dalby.
D-A-L-B-Y.
Okay, okay. And what were those?
Those were merchandise men.
Okay.
Dalby was a supermarket, wasn't it?
No,
Dalby's Market?
I think it was
No.
like clothing and stuff. wasn't it?
clothing.
Yeah, more of a mercantile
Okay.
type of bank. And my understanding is that you were the only child then?
No,
You had
I
brothers?
had a little sister. Her name was Marjorie. And I don't know what it was that she died from, but she died in just 4 years old.
Mm-hmm. And she was younger than you then?
Yes.
Yes.
And she was a very pretty little girl. And not only my folks said that, but other people said it.
Well, your folks always tell you that, don't
Yeah.
they? But if other folks say it, it's true for sure.
Yeah.
Well, then, when you were a kid growing up in Louisville, did you tell me you lived on McKinley Street?
I guess that was at the end of the street. You turned at the,
At the end of town, kind of.
yes.
Yeah. And do you remember any games that you used to play with the neighbor kids and what you did as a little kid in town?
No.
Do you know, someone told us earlier that there was a curfew for children, that you had to be inside after 8 o'clock. Do you remember anything like that? And the bell rang? I'd never heard that either.
I don't know.
Well, it must have been sort of out in the country then. McKinley was
It was at the
kind
end.
of at the end of town,
It
wasn't
was at the northwest end of Louisville.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And you walked everywhere then when you were,
Oh,
you
yeah.
walked to school, or did you have a little tricycle or a bicycle when you were a kid?
I had a bicycle, a three-wheel.
Uh-huh, that must have been before you went to school then, like a little,
Yes,
did you call them tricycles?
tricycles.
Uh-huh. I can just see you riding up and down. It was probably a dirt street too, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
And then you walked to school,
Oh, yes.
and the school, was that the one in Memory Square?
Where I don't know where Memory Square is.
Uh,
I'm not very good with
let me think now. It's at Grant
It's at Grant
and Spruce. Grant and Spruce. There used to be an old big school building there.
Yes,
And I think it was a great big red brick school building by the Catholic Church.
yes, it was fairly near the Catholic Church.
Yes. And you probably went to school there, I think. I think most kids did, didn't they?
Yes, from the first grade through the,
Probably eighth, I think. Eighth or ninth.
no,
Fifth.
through the sixth grade.
Okay, okay. And then you went up to the junior high and high school up at on Main Street.
No, not Main Street.
Oh, it was the old
It
school
was on Garfield.
on Garfield, wasn't it?
I don't know the street names.
Yes.
I don't either.
But what year was your graduation year?
I mean, from high
From
school,
high school, yes.
1939.
39. Now, did you graduate from that school, or did you graduate from, did they hold the services at Redmond Hall?
Our graduation day was at Redmond Hall
And why did they have you graduate out of Redmond?
because they said that the old school that we went to, that they needed a new school, and then that would emphasize that to the
Oh
people.
my. And you did get a new school right after that too, didn't you?
Yes,
That was a WPA project up there on Main Street.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little sign up there that says it was a WPA project. Now, do you remember when you were in school, do you remember Vera Taylor as a teacher,
Oh,
or
yeah.
was she a teacher for you?
No, she was from Lafayette,
Okay.
and she lived down the hill from me when
Oh,
I was
she
in
did.
Louisville.
Uh-huh. So you remember her, and now you're sitting at the same table dining out
That's
every
right.
day. That's nice, very nice.
She's a lovely lady.
Isn't she though?
She is. We talked to her a couple times.
She's nice.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you were in high school? Do you remember the rivalry between Lafayette and Louisville?
Oh my, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, well, we want to hear about this.
Well,
This is famous.
just that there was.
Was it
Yeah.
mostly related to sports then?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Any academic rivalry where you debate, get on the debating team or anything like that?
No,
Speech
no.
teams? Just sports? Do you remember any incidences or pranks that they pulled on each other?
No, but boys probably remember that.
Yes.
It's good.
Well, now I understand that when you were as a high school girl, you also went down there and worked with your dad at the state bank. Is that true?
That's true.
And what did you do at that state bank when you were a young girl?
Oh, just whatever my dad told me to do. Just
Mm-hmm.
it was a small enough bank that you did parts of everything. It was a good way to. People that go into banking nowadays, it's too bad that they don't get to go to a small bank, because you'd learn all about it.
Mm-hmm. From the bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
It probably wasn't as crazy complicated as it is today.
Maybe more so,
How so?
because you learned about everything. You knew all about the the bank, I mean, the relationship with the bank, but you also learned all about the merchants that lived there. And I remember my mother had worked in a bank with my father up at Nederland. But my mother never came down to substitute at the Louisville Bank because she said she lived there. And she said she didn't want to know anything about it because of things that she would belong to. And I could see why when I worked there, clubs that she belonged to, some of them, the people that worked there, I thought were fairly rich people, and they weren't.
Interesting.
And I'd say to my dad, how come you never said that? Well, he said, what good would it do you?
Did you work, do you remember working with the miners too, who would come in and cash payroll checks?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh. It must be great memories to remember that.
Oh, yes.
The men coming in their, probably in their work clothes, I would imagine.
No,
They would dress up?
they wouldn't dress up, but they were, thank you.
You looked a little dry.
But they look, they bathed at the mine, you know.
I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Oh, yes, they had a, I don't know what type of a room, but they bathed there and came in clothes that they took to work, and they never came into town dirty from working in the mine.
So they changed clothes at the mine and wore
Oh,
their
ye-
street clothes home?
Yes.
But wasn't it difficult for them to get that stain of the coal off of their skin and out of their fingernails? Or
Oh, no.
they could get that cleaned up pretty good?
Yes.
How many people in the bank, how many tellers were there? Was your dad the only teller then, or were there other
yeah.
people?
No, he really ran the whole bank.
Really? So he was the banker in Louisville.
That's right.
And was it the first bank that we had in Louisville, do you think?
I don't know.
I don't know that either, but he really was, he must have given loans to people for their mortgages or
Oh,
a
yes.
car or something.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And then after a while, you graduated into a lot of the chores that he did at the bank. You became a cashier, didn't you, or a teller?
No, I never was a cashier.
You weren't a teller then at the bank?
Yes, I guess it would call, yes.
A teller, I was using the cashier as a teller. So you were behind, did they have little iron bars and like a cage that you would be behind?
Yes, there were. I was there when the bank was robbed.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Now, I don't know this story.
you have to tell us that story.
Well, the bank was robbed in, I don't know what year. And any of the people that worked on Main Street for a long time, they could tell you when it was.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what happened?
They came in and it was during the noon hour.
To a couple of men?
Yes.
Did they have a gun?
Oh, not apparently,
Okay.
but they were nicely dressed. By that I mean they were in suits,
Wow.
and we just thought they were somebody that was going to maybe establish a business, or, you know, I can remember going up to the window and and asking them what I could do to help them. And they said, we're robbing the bank. And it was
Gee.
Scary.
scary.
Did they have hoods or anything on?
Oh, no.
Just
Plain
barefaced.
clothes, except that the thing about them that made them look different, they were all dressed up.
I see.
Right. More than the other people that would come in.
Oh, yes.
All right.
So what in the world did you do?
Well, I don't remember.
Oh, good. Maybe it's a good thing.
Sometimes that happens. You get so scared about something. Did they get some money from the bank?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever catch them?
Oh, yes.
Oh. Was it Louisville people or was it from Denver?
Oh, no. I don't know where they were from.
Oh my. Was that the only time that ever happened? Excitement like that?
I think so.
Well, that was enough to last you. I'm glad you were safe. I wanted to ask you too about when you were being a cashier or a teller, we didn't have all these little computers and calculators that we've got now. So how did you keep track of or give change? You must have done it all in your head, or
No, we
just with
had
paper and
we had
pencil, or what?
we had a machine. I say a machine, by that it was you used it with your hands, and well, you just had to answer their questions.
And then you punched in numbers. Did you pull a little lever down to?
Yes.
Yeah. I bet you were good at handing back change.
Well, you figured out in the first place what they needed for change, and you counted it out to them. You never just said, here's your change.
Here, I see.
Well, you never did that.
All right.
Well, now it's very unusual that someone would count out your change. Mostly you get handed the money back. And it
Now,
makes me crazy.
it is that way I mean, then it wasn't true.
Yes, we were more careful about it.
Oh, could I ask a little question? What did you wear when you were working at the bank? Did you have to wear a skirt?
Oh, yes.
Long skirt?
Oh, I never wore pants as part of my dress
Mm-hmm.
except to go play or to,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, you wore just a dress
Mm-hmm.
or, well, not real fancy dress,
Mm-hmm.
but we never wore, well, in other words, we never wore pants
Yeah.
to work.
Would you ever wear pants to go downtown in Louisville on Main Street, or was that a little bit more dressy situation?
Oh, I never wore pants
Mm-hmm.
to do anything except play.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Now, when you got home from school, did you immediately change into your pants and go play?
No, no.
Or you studied?
No, you just went ahead and did what your playthings in your
Oh, really?
in your ordinary clothes.
Okay.
Did girls have a lot of clothing then, or was
Oh
it
no,
just maybe 5 or 6 dresses or something? Or
probably not more than that.
and did you buy them at Dalby's in place, or did your mom make them for you?
My mother didn't sew much.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother did, her mother, but mostly we would go to Denver or to the Boulder or Longmont.
All right.
Now I'm going to ask about when you met Warren Wiggett, an Erie boy, whom you ended up marrying.
at a Rainbow Girls dance.
Mm-hmm.
Rainbow Girls, that was the
They
part of
were-
the Masons.
Yes.
Okay. So was his dad a Mason?
No.
No?
This was just a dance put on by them and the Eastern Star. And he was just a date of a girl from Lafayette.
Yeah. And he was more interested in you?
Oh, I don't know at the time. I doubt that he was.
So how long did you date then, and what did you do on your dates?
Oh, nothing very exciting.
Did you go to movies and ice skating or roller skating or?
Sometimes we'd do any of those three.
Uh-huh. But was he a dancer?
Oh, no.
Well, you were lucky he came to that first dance then, weren't you?
That's a good way, yeah.
So you let him off the hook on dancing then? You didn't make him dance then?
No.
Okay. And then, did you go on picnics? Would picnics be something that you folks would do?
Oh, yes.
And would you go up the canyon or Boulder Canyon, or where did you go
Well,
on picnics?
See, my grandparents lived right out of Nederland, Colorado. So we would go up there many times
Mm-hmm.
just for the ride with my folks.
And then did you date for about a year before you got married?
I'm trying to think how long it was. It wasn't right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how steady he and this other girl were going.
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe it's better not to know.
Maybe it is.
Now, I saw your wedding picture in your room, and you really did it up right. It was beautiful. You looked gorgeous in the long white dress. And where was your wedding? Where did it take place?
In the front room, in the dining room. And you know, dining rooms were a separate room than your living room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what specially to say.
So that was at the McKinley house then that you got married, or did you get married up in Nederland?
No, we were married at home at McKinley.
At McKinley. Is that house still there, do you know?
No, it burned down.
Oh, heavens.
Not
too
when
bad.
I lived there, but
Oh,
Were there a lot of guests?
no.
And did you have a cake?
Yes,
Did Mom make that?
she made part of it, but she had somebody else ice it.
mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
Well, if we can, I'd like to have a picture of that. We've got a little camera. Maybe when we finish, we'll go and take a little photo of it. It's a beautiful picture. It's real classic, and it shows you the background too. So we'll try and do that. But then I know after you were married, I don't know for how long, but your husband Howard went to.
No, not Howard.
What do you call him, Harry?
No,
No, that's your
my dad.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of.
And Warren
What's your
never went.
husband? Warren. Warren went to.
He was in the
war.
service.
Yeah, he was in World War II. And at that time, what did you do?
I worked in the bank.
Okay. And were you living with your folks too then?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My mother had died though.
Oh, she did. I see. So you were there with your dad.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
But you were relatively young when your mother died.
Yes, I was probably
22?
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But how did she die?
I can't remember that.
Mm-hmm. No, she was pretty young. But you didn't have your son then. You were just your dad and you living in that house at McKinley.
That's right.
And you were working. Was he working at that time too at the
My
bank?
dad, oh yes.
Yeah, so you were.
He worked right up until, well, shortly before he died.
Well, how
It's
many?
Howard Henry, right?
Yes,
Howard Henry Hoyt.
yes.
Yes, that was her
Creation.
dad. So he had, the two of you were pretty much, had a corner on the market in banking in this town, didn't you? You were really the bankers of Louisville, you and your dad.
That's right.
Well, I think everybody would have known you and you would have known everybody in town.
Probably that's true.
Yes? Was that good or was that bad?
Well, if you had made loans there and hadn't paid them back, that's bad.
Yes.
Then they didn't walk on that side of the street where the bank was.
Oh, really?
Oh.
They'd walk across the street,
Uh-huh.
and any banking they had to do, they did it at the store, a grocery store,
Oh.
and they never stepped inside the bank.
Oh, my.
It must have been hard if somebody you knew and liked had to be foreclosed on, or did that happen ever?
Yes, not often, but occasionally,
Must have been tough.
yeah. And my mother had worked in a bank in Netherlands, and she actually taught my dad banking because he wasn't a banker when he went to Netherlands.
And then he taught you, or did your mom teach you?
Oh no, my dad.
Your dad taught
And
you.
my mother never stepped inside the
Yes.
bank.
Yes.
She knew. She never, and banking was never discussed at home.
But you banked in Louisville from about 1938 when you were like a junior in high school.
Yes.
And how many years do you remember about when you retired from the banking industry? Do you think you maybe had 30 or 40 years in?
Well, some of that time, after I was married, I didn't work. I don't know.
But I bet you had many, many years in this town as the, what did they call you, the lady banker?
The daughter's banker.
The daughter's banker.
Or the banker's daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
That's it, thank you. So, do you remember the day that your husband came back from the war? Do you remember any of that? Or when the war ended, do you remember what happened in town?
Oh, there was a big celebration.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember bells going off and bells ringing, or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you come down into Main Street and downtown to see the hullabaloo?
Yes, but the interesting thing about not being around, back to when the bank was robbed, my dad, it was robbed during the noon hour because it was robbed while Dad was home eating lunch.
Oh.
And I didn't get to go down. I wanted to go,
To the celebration?
and Dad wouldn't let me go. He used to tell me sometime after that he thought I would be stolen.
Oh.
Oh, and held for ransom maybe. Oh, interesting.
And he didn't let me go downtown.
Oh, how interesting.
It's too bad.
And but he never told me that during that period of time. I was really provoked at him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
provoked.
sure. I'm sure. Now you said he used to go home for lunch, and I believe you told me, and I forgot to ask you this, when you were in school, you would walk home for lunch when you were a little schoolgirl, didn't you?
Yes,
And that was common to do. Kids just walked home.
yes, that's right.
And how long was the lunch hour? Or was it a long time?
Well, sometimes it would be half hour. Usually it was an hour. And a lot of the time, the bank was closed during the noon hour, that there was no banking at all in town.
So the bankers could have lunch.
Yeah.
Then when Warren came back, I read somewhere that I can't remember what he did for a living.
Well, of course, we wrote to each other. I met him at a Rainbow Girls dance.
Yes.
And when he first came back, he lived in Erie.
Okay. And you moved out to Erie with him then?
Oh, not till after we were married.
Oh, yes, of course. But where did he keep bees? He used to keep bees.
Oh,
I
that's
understand.
after we were married, yes.
Yes, and that was up on McKinley that he kept bees?
No, he never kept them at home.
Oh, he didn't?
He kept them out in the country.
I see. And did you get involved in that beekeeping?
Only to help with the extraction of the honey.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a lot?
Oh, yes, sometimes we'd get a lot of bees, a lot of
Wow, honey.
honey.
And what'd you do with it? Did you give it away, sell it?
Oh, we sold it.
Mm-hmm. Were you famous for that? Were there
Oh,
very
not,
many
not
beekeepers?
famous, but just
Had a lot of customers.
had a lot of customers. And then he sold it at the store.
I see.
Oh, sure.
Did you get stung a lot?
Yes, and I was fortunate. I was not allergic to bees.
Okay.
Now, my husband was not allergic to them, but my father was.
Oh.
Uh-oh. What happened when he got stung?
Well, I don't know, but just
Wasn't good.
it wasn't good.
Was there a Dr. Snare who took care of you once when you got stung, or
Oh,
what
yes.
was that? I can't quite remember that.
He was a doctor in Louisville at the time I was born.
Oh.
Although my mother went to a Boulder hospital
Mm-hmm.
when I was born.
And was he married to a lady? I'm not sure, was it Auntie Lou? Was that his wife's name?
Yes, and we kids all called her Auntie Lou.
She a nice lady to the
Oh,
kids?
yes.
So, I want you to tell the story about when you were living in Erie and all those dirt streets back then, but I guess Louisville had dirt streets too, so it was nothing new. But you were still working in Louisville at the bank,
Right?
and I want you to tell how you got back and forth from Erie
Oh,
To town.
in a car.
and tell the name of the car,
I can't remember.
a Marquette.
Oh, a Marquette, that's right, a car.
Oh.
I've never heard of it.
Oh,
Have you heard of it?
No, but I'm gonna look it up on the computer later on.
A Marquette. And do you remember what it looked like? You were telling me
It
about
wasn't a truck,
Okay.
No.
it was a car.
Mhm.
Well,
Was it fancy? Was it an expensive car?
I don't know, my husband bought it.
Uh-huh.
Did it have a roof?
Oh, yes, it was
open?
just a regular car, no, it was a
Closed car.
closed.
Did you feel pretty fancy in it?
No, not especially.
Did you have one of those little hats that fit real tight around your head?
No.
Oh, I bet you look pretty spiffy though. That's my bet.
That must have bumped around an awful lot between those two places. The roads must have been bumpy.
Oh, sure, they were none of them paved.
Did you ever have trouble getting, when in the winter weather, did you have trouble getting from Erie to here? That must have been a pretty good drive in a little car like that.
I don't know, but he made it over there.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, let's talk a little bit about holidays and anything special about holidays. And we usually start with Christmas because everybody loves Christmas. And what would you do on a Christmas?
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Well, did you celebrate here, or did you go up with your grandparents for Christmas
Oh, well,
Day?
I see what
or
you mean.
What sort of activities did you do at Christmas?
Well, we were always in Louisville for Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
or over at Erie at his folks.
Mm-hmm. What kind of gifts did you get at Christmas time?
Usually things to wear.
Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of feasting and food going on? Big dinners?
Yes. I don't remember my mother ever preparing a big dinner,
Mm-hmm.
but Warren's mother did.
Mm-hmm.
Warren's mother was a wonderful cook,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd sit in a rocking chair by the stove in the kitchen. But she was a wonderful cook.
Wasn't that great? Must have smelled great.
This wasn't a wood stove, was it?
Oh, sure.
Oh, it was.
Wood and coal.
Wood and coal. Did it have the hot water
Yes.
thing on the side?
Yeah.
Oh my. Do you remember what sort of things she cooked that you liked? Roast or goose or turkeys?
I don't know about goose, but she cooked roast. She was an excellent cook,
Mm-hmm.
and she did it without any effort. You know, she just cooked.
Yeah, good cook.
Now, did you open up presents on Christmas Eve, or did you go wait until Christmas Day
Christmas Day in the morning.
after Santa had been there?
Yes.
Do you remember anything Santa brought you that was wonderful? I'm sure you believed in Santa.
Yes, as a little.
Of course.
I believed in him.
Yes. Did you get special little things from Santa, or was it just still clothing?
Oh no, they'd be special little things that you'd play with.
Little toys.
Do you ever remember going down to City Hall and the big Christmas tree in the middle of the street there?
Oh yes.
What was that like? Santa was there.
Santa was there, and and when they had the Christmas parade,
Mm.
he always showed up.
And what did you get from Santa?
Usually clothing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Did that Santa at City Hall, did he give you a little package of goodies?
Oh, if so, they were popcorn or
Mm-hmm.
or
Maybe
that
nuts,
type of thing.
little nuts, or
Something that everybody would like.
a piece of fruit maybe. How do you think the kids today would like that?
No, they wouldn't. They
Yeah, they're
wouldn't.
getting spoiled. Yeah.
Do you remember the Labor Day parade down there on Main Street? Labor Day parade, which we still have in Louisville. It's a very big thing.
No, I don't. Whether they didn't let me go or
Mm-hmm.
didn't take me, I don't know.
Uh-huh. Well, we still celebrate it, and I go down there every year. It's the biggest thing that we do in this town. It's very fun. What about on your birthday? What would happen for your birthday?
My mother always made a cake,
Okay.
and she decorated it not special. Well, yes, special, and I don't know what else.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do the thing where you put the candles on it that you have to blow out?
Yes,
Says?
Do you remember April Fool's Day?
no,
I think it's April 1st. And kids pull pranks on each other, on their parents, or...
no.
Oh, I always used to do that. That's why I asked if you did anything. Because sometimes a little bit naughty.
No.
You didn't do
He
the
wasn't
naughty.
naughty.
You weren't naughty like I was.
Oh,
were
I
you?
was naughty.
Oh. Well, now I want to hear what naughty thing you did. Would you tell me something you did that was naughty? Just remember you're being taped, though.
I can't think offhand.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you think of something, you give me a call, because I'm always interested in what kids did to be pranksters when they were little kids. I'm sure kids used to prank a lot.
I didn't get to, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I lived up at the end of McKinley,
Mm-hmm.
and my friends were girls that lived in houses close by. So truthfully, I don't remember any pranks.
Okay. But if you think of something, you be sure and let me know,
Okay.
because I want to pull them. Now, I know you have a son, Tom, I think is his name, and he lives south of here.
In Monument.
In Monument, that's right. And I talked with him on the phone, and I think you raised him in Erie, didn't you?
No.
Where was he raised?
Not in Erie. Oh, maybe Erie.
Erie and maybe Louisville. But after your children, after Tom left, you told me that you and your husband traveled a lot.
Oh, we did.
Yes, yes.
We just traveled everywhere.
In the United States
In the United
and
States and Europe.
Europe. And I have something here that I'd like you to explain.
All these flags have the name on them up here in the corner.
Here, I'll show.
I can't think of even what
Right
country
there, that's
that is.
Luxembourg. See, because we couldn't remember. So right there it says Luxembourg,
Okay,
because I wouldn't have known that.
I wouldn't have either.
No.
What was it like traveling outside of the country? I know you did it quite often. It looks like you've been to a lot of places, but your first experiences leaving the country, what was that like?
Well, I don't know, and I don't know what you particularly want to ask me about it.
Yeah. Well, do you have some favorite stories from your travels?
No.
You traveled by train, though, a lot, didn't you?
Oh, no.
Oh?
No, no.
How did you
How did
travel?
Well, we traveled with a car.
Mm-hmm. So did you get to Europe by boat then, or
No.
you flew? When you went to Europe? Because you've obviously been to a lot of European countries.
I don't know how we got there.
Uh-huh. But then once you got there, you traveled by car mostly? Mm-hmm. Did you, what sort of things did you like to see? Buildings or historic things?
Yeah, historic things.
Mm-hmm. Were you like a nature lover? Did you like to go hiking and see the birds and
No.
animals? Mostly the cities then is what you enjoyed.
That's right.
And when you went on a trip, would you be gone for like a month or so, or
Oh,
very
no.
long? How long would you be gone?
Not that is the longest.
Mm-hmm. Now I don't know all the places from these flags, but do you speak a lot of different languages?
No.
So you got by
I
with
wish I
English.
did.
Yes. So it just was mostly the English speaking.
Well, and there was no reason for me to have to speak another language.
The people were able to understand
Yeah, just
what you
hands.
wanted. Hand movements.
Right.
Did you enjoy all the different foods too that you?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
And he liked different foods, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad that you didn't get to meet him.
Yes.
He was a very interesting person.
When did he die?
I tried to think of that this morning.
I think we could find that in the museum, though. I think, you know, they keep records of
Oh,
things
I think
like
we
that.
we probably have that at home.
Yes.
Was it quite a while ago? 10 or
Tom would remember.
20?
I don't know. I just
Okay,
don't
You know what, I
What's
know
that?
that Tom would
Okay.
remember that. Do you remember a favorite country that you like to be in? Did you, more than others, for the food or the buildings?
No.
You just liked them all. Now, you must have made at least 10 trips to Europe, I'm gonna guess.
No.
How many
no.
did you go?
Just this one trip.
Oh, really? Boy, that was,
Okay.
you were busy traveling, my word. And then, did you travel in the United States a lot too?
Yes.
And where did you go in the United States? Out west, or did you go back to your family's country in Pennsylvania and New York?
Oh, once in a great while.
Mm-hmm. Would you drive that Marquette?
Yes.
You drove that cross country.
Yes.
Do you remember when the Lincoln Highway came through? Did you drive on the Lincoln Highway?
Probably, but see, that wasn't important to me.
Oh.
So I don't know.
I see. But I'm sure it was paved streets by then.
Yes.
Yes. Did you go out west?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Go see the big trees in California or
Yes.
see the ocean?
Yes, we went to the ocean.
Mm-hmm. You like the ocean or the mountains?
Well, they're just two separate things.
Mm-hmm. You know, we never grew up around oceans, so I like mountains better just because I grew up with them. I don't really understand the ocean. Let's see. I just, what have we got about maybe, okay. We've only got 5 more minutes to talk, but let me ask you just a couple of quick things. During the Depression, did you feel like we were in a depression, or you didn't? And what do you think? Why do you think that was, that you didn't think there was a depression?
Because my dad worked at the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, it just seemed like we lived the very same.
Mm-hmm.
But I had relatives back there that would write letters, faithfully. When I say that, probably maybe one letter within 2 weeks for sure. Both my mother and Janet, her daughters. But I didn't feel like it was bad.
When they wrote those letters, were they having trouble back there?
Well, her husband ran a grocery store, so there wasn't any problem there.
Okay. Okay.
But you thought it was more for people back there, not out here where we
Yes.
were.
I thought the Depression was all back east.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember any bootlegging that went on in this town when you
Yes.
were young?
I didn't know much about it, except that I knew some of the names of the people by their bootleg name.
Oh, really? They had bootleg names?
Sure.
Oh, I
Like
didn't
what?
know that.
I don't know what a bootleg name is.
I never knew that.
Oh, offhand, isn't that terrible? I can't think of any name.
Oh, I'd love to know that if you think of those. I didn't know they had bootleg names, though.
Did they were they sort of names like Stinky or
Whiskey or something like that?
Silly?
Yeah, funny names.
Oh, that's cool.
Huh. But they were people who lived in this town, in Louisville.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like Moonshine.
Moonshine Charlie or
Charlie.
something?
I'm just making them up now.
But you were teetotalers at your household, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes. And then, can you think of an invention that you were particularly fond of, or do you remember when like TV came around, or the cars, or what invention do you think is an important invention?
The TV,
You like the TV?
Yay!
because I can remember just coaxing and begging for a TV,
Mm-hmm.
and my folks would tell me we couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm. And when you finally got it, what shows did you like to watch?
Oh, I don't remember.
Did you like the comedies, like Lucy? You remember I Love Lucy? Did you remember that one?
Yes.
I liked that one too.
I don't remember any in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch the TVs at your friend's house before your parents got one, or
We had one before they did.
you got the first one though? I mean,
So you were very popular.
yeah. Did they come watch at your house?
No, not necessarily, no.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think our time is winding down, but I always ask people who have been honored to have a long life as you and you've had, and I say, what do you count this long life to, this longevity? Do you have an idea on that? Why have you been so blessed?
Just lucky, I guess.
Just luck.
Yes, just luck.
It's probably a lot to that. One fella told me, well, I just kept breathing. And I thought that was a good answer. Is there anything else you'd like to add to our interview as we're closing down?
No,
Well, if you think of anything, I'm going to leave you my phone number. And I'd like to I'm very grateful that we met you and that we got to talking and that you agreed to do this interview. It's just been fabulous to get to know you and hear your history and learn a little bit more about the history of our town. So we're real glad that you consented to do this with us today.
Louisville is a great place.
It is. Great people.
It's great then and still is.
Nice to know.
That's good words to end on, I think. Thank you so much for doing this with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's been a joy.